everyone, welcome to another video. In this video, I will explain about configuring environment variables in Power Apps. Why environment variables are required? You know that most often applications require different configuration settings, right? For example, input parameters when we deploy in different environments. Let's say for development environment, we have different connections, and for production, we have different connections or different input parameters. So normally we store that in hard-coded text, right? So environment variables store the parameter keys and values, which then serve as input to various other application objects. So separating the parameters from the consuming objects, which allows you to change the values within the same environment, or when you migrate solutions to other environment. Let's say you want to export your solution from your development environment and you want to import in production. So if you have an environment variable, then you can change that while exporting or while importing the solution in target environment, right? So if you talk about benefits of environment variables, then it provides new parameter values while importing solutions to other environments, right? So dynamically, you do not need to specify or change the hard-coded text every time. Rather, while importing, you can change it, right? You can also store configuration for the data sources which is used in Canvas app or Flow. So there are many advantages, but I will show you how we can configure environment variables and use it in Canvas apps. So this is the solution, Power App solution, and here you have to add the environment variable as a component. Click on New and go to More and click on Environment Variable. Every environment variable requires some information like display name and description with data type, right? Now give a name. Let's say I want to give, let's say, L1 approver. So by default the name is automatically formatted as soft_L1 approver. You can give the description here. Let's say L1 approver email, and you can define a data type, whether it is a decimal number input parameter or it's a JSON type, text, yes, no, boolean, data source, or a select secret, right? So you can choose. Let me choose text and give a value. Let's say I can give like this. So this is a email I'm just trying to provide. Right. So I'm expecting L1 approver should be this person with this email, and that is stored in L1 approver as a new environment variable, right? You will find two things here while configuring environment variables. One is default value, another is current value, right? So default value is something which is part of your current environment variable definition, right? It is not at all a required field, right? But if you do not have any current value, then you can specify some default value which is default to the current environment, right? And current value is also known as the value, right? So this property is optional and is a part of the environment variable value table. There are two tables which is responsible to store these environment variables. One is environment variables values, another is environment variables definitions. I'll show you in while using this environment variables. Now if you use current value, then that value will be stored in the environment variable values table. Otherwise it will be, the default value will be available in the definition table itself, right? So it's not mandatory, but you can provide some value as per your need, right? Okay, so let me click on save. So I have created a new environment variable of type text, which will store the L1 approver with an email ID, right? So once the variable is created, you will see the variable environment variable is listed in the Power App solution, and this is the environment variable. Now I want to use it, right? So to use this environment variable, let us create a new Canvas apps. So click on new, click on Canvas apps. Let's say give a name test app, and you can give a option tablet. So as I have told you, environment variables are stored in two configuration tables. One is environment variables values and the second one is environment variable definition. So first you have to connect that two tables using data option. Go to data and click on add data and select environment option. You will see here two tables option available, environment variable definitions and environment variable values. Connect both the tables to your Canvas apps or Power Apps. You can connect also this two table in your Flow or Power Automate also. So click on add data and I can search. Now it will give you two options and two data tables are added here, two tables, right? So these are the configuration tables which stores the configuration items or the environment variables. Now I want to read the environment variable which I have created into a label, for example. So I will take a label here, and in this label I'll just change the text as blank for now, and I'll take a button here and I'll just mention the text as get config value, right? Now when my intention is when someone click this button, the L1 approver should be updated, should be displayed in the label here I have created, right? So how to do that? We have to write down some Power Apex. Although I have connected the two tables which contains the environment variables, I have to read the variable informations, right? So click on this table, click on this button and go to action, and in the on select I want to write down something, right? Let's say I want to create a variable. I want to create a variable, global variable, to store the environment variable. Let's say L1 approver, and I want to do a lookup to the table called as environment variable definition, right? Because this is the table which stores the L1 approver environment variable with default value, right? And I will check whether the schema name is subt underscore L1 approver. So this is the schema name, L1 approver. And instead of this value, you can just define dot. So we are just doing a lookup, right? I want to look up this table, and the condition is whether the schema name. So I'll just use definition dot you can mention here dot, or you can define this directly, environment variable definition dot, what's that, equal to directly you can give schema name equal to subt underscore L1 approver, and I want the value of the default value, right? Now this Power FX will initialize, or it will look up the environment variable definition table with a schema name matching subt underscore L1 approver, and it will retrieve the record's default value column information, and it will set this variable. Now this variable I want to set for the label text property, right? Now if I'll run it and click on this button, I will get the value that is available in the default value of this environment variable. You can see here, right? Now as we have retrieved the environment variable information using PowerFX, now you can use this environment variable in your application as per your need, right? Now you have to remember that whenever you create any environment variable, you can use this PowerFX to read the information from your environment variable tables. Now as because I have not given any current value for this environment variable, now let me go back and show you something. Let me go to here and again open Power Apps. So if I would have selected any current value, then I would have retrieved the information from environment variable values table, because here I am retrieving environment variable definitions, right? I'm not retrieving from values table, but if it is required, you can use variable values. For example, let's go here and I'll go to development and go to the solution first. Open the same solution where I have created the environment variables. On this one, go to solutions and I'll go to school solution. Now here I will go to environment variables section and open the same environment variable. And I will give a current value for this environment variable, right? I have already assigned a default value, but whenever you define a default value for an environment variable, that will not store anything in the environment variable values table until unless you define a current value. Let me give a current value here, dev@shopchip21.com. That means for this environment, click on save. This environment, the value I have assigned, current value I have assigned this one, right? Now whenever you export this solution with this variable, environment variable, while importing in target environment, it will ask you to provide a value for the target environment. Now how to read this information? If I'll go to here and try to again click this, I will get the same default value here, right? But I want the current value. Now the current value is stored in the values table, environment variable values table. So right now this is the variable which stores the value. Now I can assign to this variable or assign to this label as current value, right? Now if I'll run it and click on this, it will give you the current value. Now you have to remember this PowerFX, right? If you do some problem here, then it will not give you the result, right? Now the PowerFX is lookup environment variable values, then filter by environment variable definition schema name equal to your schema name of this environment variable. Thank you for your time, guys. I hope it helped you. You can also use this in Power Automate or Flow to get the information of environment variables. Also while importing the environment, while importing the solution, also you can override the value of the environment variable. Thank you. See you next time.